The most valuable units in this game are mythics. It's the one piece that's left that they let you slowly build your favorites because they actually provide a place for you to use these units. Plus they get a remix and a refine. This is very, very powerful. So I'm gonna go through and actually score each season based on the placements of these units. I'm gonna give recommendations for the cores at the end, and I'm gonna talk about every single unit because they're all usable except one. So let me know in the comments, who is your favorite mythic? I just had a friend send me a wicked air build. One of my favorites is Thor, and she just got an amazing remix and refine. Let me know. Real quickly, a couple things about this tier list. Aether Raids is going to be the priority, but other modes are considered. The biggest thing is, should you field this unit? That's the question I kept asking myself. The other thing is, these are considered as one-offs with max investment. But let's get into our first tier.
The dream is over.
There's only one unit in this tier, and it's F tier. Of course it's F tier. This is Sothis tier. This unit is so tough. What do you even say about this unit? Sothis they didn't understand what they were doing. They designed an offensive mythic and put her on defense, and all of us were so confused, even at the time. I mean, okay, so even with the remix and refine, you negate dragon effectiveness, you get stats, distant counter, adaptive damage, pierceable DR, and on the special you get null guard and boosted damage and healing. All of this is nice, but she's an Omni take. What are you gonna do with that? I don't even know. So at the build highlight, I tried so many different things. And I even tried to put her on arena teams because, you know, you do have extra scoring with high dragon wall and distant counter D, and I couldn't get her to work there. She just doesn't even score high enough. So we have infantry pulse bot Sothis. So you jump forward and rally your team and hopefully ruse somebody, and also hopefully, you know, get their specials down, and then this unit is just bait. I mean, that's all I can say. This is even, I mean, if you had this unit out there and you had your, like, level 1 peony, I'm not sure if this unit would actually kill it. This one is so tough. I promise you I won't be negative about any other unit, but this one was so hard. What do you do? So, max score is 758. I know I joked about her not being usable in arena, but that's actually decent. It's just the problem is she would be such an albatross. She would be so difficult. This was back in July 2019, though. I mean, what do you do? As far as best friends, I put 2 infantry units up here because I figured, you know, she'd help them pulse down. But, I mean, her best role is mediocre support. This is how we're starting. I told you that every one of these units was useful, and then we start with Sothis. I promise it gets better from here. Let's move on to a decent tier. All right, E tier. Now, these units are difficult and expensive to work with, but you can get them to work. And the biggest thing is, at least they aren't Sothis.
I must be ruthless.
First up, we have Leaf, and this is an interesting unit. This is a melee nuke, which if we had all the skills we have now, particularly the Celica ring, at the time when this unit was released, we'd probably look at this unit very differently. Like, we've had a huge melee nuke renaissance as of late. This unit was decent. There were a lot of things that didn't work as well. So the weapon, we had Slaying and Omni plus 10, guaranteed follow-up. We have turn 1, we have a cooldown -2, which is always good. Healing, and we have DR of 30% off the first attack. Deadly balance is a little more interesting. We have attack speed, defense -5, guard, special spiral piercing, which at the time was really good, and special cooldown per foe's attack. The weird thing about this unit is we have healing in the kit, but then we have parasitic damage. And that's the thing we really haven't talked about. And I was never big on this gimmick, and there were a couple of folks that tried a lot of really interesting things with Vantage. This is one of those things that I feel like IS tried, but it just never panned out. Even to this day, I can't really find a good use for that parasitic damage, and it really hurts this unit a lot. I even use this unit in Mjolnir Strike, and whenever it attacks, I always have to worry about who it's damaging, and I switch units back and forth. It's because of that, though, it really hinders what this unit can do. Now, as far as the builds, we talked about it, though. I mean, putting Celica Ring on this unit makes him decent. The problem is, I mean, why would you ever do this when you have units that just do it so much better? He is sneaky. You could possibly put some range on him, but I do like this ability to cycle through Open the Future very quickly and be able to hit with that every time, therefore getting piercing every time. You can see right now he's basically the Felix we have at home. I mean, way at home. Way back in the closet at home, but still at home. And he's kind of in that Hathran ball that we've been seeing so much. It is nice that he gives out speed, and that's advantageous to certain units like Fjorm. But overall, where you're going to be using this is probably more in the PvE realm and less on the defense realm, just because so many units do his job better right now. If you look at units that this one pairs well with, I mean, really, you're talking about like Bernadetta, or you're talking about Sigurd, and what I'm really looking at there as a follow-up unit. If this unit isn't the tip of the spear, he can still do a lot of damage. We have some of these right now, and the reason they're so useful is they also have a supportive component, and this unit doesn't really have that. Because again, this was, I mean, January 2020 was when this unit was released, and the Refine was a couple years ago now. But this is still a decent melee nuke that you can make work, but you just have to invest into him a whole lot.
Avert your gaze!
Freyja is another tough one. This is an Omni tank, and Omni tanks are tough to have as mythics because you need so many things. Think about the power creep in Omni tanks right now and how absolutely ridiculous it is. But I mean, if we look at this kit, they did give this unit a lot, and on bonus season, I've seen some really fun things to do. Like, I mean, Omni +8, distant counter, you have Canto remaining +1, special acceleration, no follow-up, beast transformation shenanigans. You have, oh, Binding Necklace, I forgot about this, removes transformation conditions right now, which is kind of cool. You have the whole bonus reversal thing. You have an Omni +3, and Inflicts Omni -3, Null Guard, and Phantom Speed. It's a mouthful, right? So, the thing that probably hurt this unit the most is this unit is a cavalry unit. And so they made an Omni tank cav unit, so they have lower BST, and at the time, there were just not a lot of things for cav units to have. If we look now, there's some interesting things you can do as a support unit. One of the things is pretty much Reginn Light, and one of the things that makes Reginn so powerful is the ability to run around and go get pots, while also having a lot of supportive things with her on her kit. And we have so many things that Cavs can put on there now. You have Attack Ruse 4. I've got Shadow Shift on here. You can do Breath of Life just as easily. But this unit is able to run around and get that stuff done. Shadow Shift in particular is very powerful end game to get your units in position or out of the way. It's also very powerful if you want to make this unit some kind of Gale Force support, which you absolutely can. That's the big thing, though, is being able to use this unit in multiple ways means that even though she's not excelling, if you have this unit at +10, you can still go out and use her. So here I have her with Tamara support, but if you wanted to do Gale Force support, I think you'd have a lot of fun in that regards as well. As far as units she pairs well with, and right here I've got her with Gale Force units, so of course there I showed her in a supportive role. Here I'm showing her with, Felix or Dagr, just to extend her range. And keep in mind, you can add on extra movement if you don't want to add on warping in the form of Wings of Mercy, and a lot of times that works really well. But all in all, I mean, this unit was from December 2021. She's holding up. She just takes a lot of work to get to function properly.
How endearing.
Yune! Oh, I love this unit, and she has just aged. I mean, pretty much Micaiah came on, and just everything that she does, Micaiah does it better times 10. I mean, it is night and day difference, but I really, really enjoyed using this unit back in the day, and she can still be an interesting nuke. If you look at her kit, Chaos Manifest, you have stats, guaranteed follow-up, you have a really interesting DR clause, but it's pierceable right now, so that really isn't as good as it once was. But you also have dominance, and that is very nice to build up stats right now. There's a lot of different ways you can get debuffs, and it makes her hit harder than she really has any right to be. Chaos Named, though, is really replaceable. You have an Omni Chill, and then you have Panic on foes with highest attack speed defense res. We've seen this before. Almost always you're going to be replacing that. But if we look at the build here, you see kind of what I'm talking about. Even Sabotage, any of the Sabotages, the tier 4 ones are very, very good on her. As far as support goes, putting Attack Res Crux. Attack Res Crux is criminally underrated, and as a support skill is pretty fantastic. But you can see I'm trying to build her like Micaiah. That is really what you're seeing here with Soaring Echo and the Crux skill and the Sabotage. The difference here is that she is a mythic, so while also being Micaiah Light, she provides your tanks in particular extra stats that can make them bulky. It makes her usable. I'm not going to say she's amazing, but this is something that during her bonus season you can absolutely get to work. Looking at who she pairs best with, it's definitely in the old school Catria balls, but those are coming back. There are just not enough ruse skills to go around, and we're really having trouble punching through units like Fjorm. So I am starting to see Catria balls a lot more. You also pair her with someone like Embla, and she can go and snipe the back line. And if you combine that with Catria, it can hit decently hard if you're talking about taking out support units or doing cleanup. But I mean, still, this is a unit from 2019, and there's still a way that you can get them to work. That is saying something.
I am death itself.
I feel like the thing that Hell excels at is being annoying. I always forget about inevitable death, and she just comes swooping in and absolutely smacks me out of the blue. And she definitely can take out a peony if you have not paid attention. Let's look at this kit, though. We have Hell's Reaper, which has Slaying, Omni +8, IOT Shield. You have Pierceable DR, have After Combat Healing, which on her, since she has Miracle, is very good. And you have True Damage equals 20% plus speed. You really need True Damage in today's meta. We also have in the weapon Adaptive Damage and Miracle if the foe is not a mage or a staff. And that Miracle is really what makes her interesting and has made her, again, part of her being an annoyance is her not dying. Well, she's Hell, so it makes sense. But you combine that with Inevitable Death Plus, which has an Omni -5, no follow-up, and Warp to nearest space to foe within 4 spaces. And that is, you combine that with Miracle, and that is the bane of my existence if I'm not paying attention or if the small human comes and tackles me at that very moment. This is something that always jump scares me, and I have lost more than a few matches because of this. But most players who know what they're doing are going to be ready for that and don't have small humans tackling them during their matches. If we're looking at a build, it's interesting. You can put things like Attack Speed Excel and Reopening on her, and she becomes fairly beefy. Both of those provide some sort of flat DR, which is nice. And then you put her on a team with, especially on a team with Embla. That is a thing that is necessary, and that really helps you unpredictably snipe people that you wouldn't be able to normally. You add on the debuffs from someone like Micaiah, and you can see how this would work well in one of those nice little light balls that sit in the corner and annoy you while you try to pick at them. This is an interesting unit, though, and I like her gimmick a lot, even though she lacks a lot of hitting power right now. If you're looking at best friends, we talked about Embla, absolutely, but also the penalty cleanse that Loki provides lets her come in and smack things a lot harder than she normally would be able to. But Yeah, this is 2021 looking at you, and the best role is absolutely Annoying Warper.
No backing down!
Altina exemplifies this tier. And the reason I'm saying that is because she is hard to work with, but you can get her there with enough investment. That's a big deal. Dual Phase Brave is a big deal. And I mean, you've seen this unit pop up everywhere, from summoner duels to arena to... this unit has a very adaptable kit, and the fact that she's a flyer, while it limits a lot of her things that she can inherit, gives her mobility that not a lot of units like her have. So it makes her interesting. If we look at the kit itself, we have Ragnall Alondite with distant counter, speed -5, which is an interesting thing that they used to do. Attack res +5, you have special acceleration, which is amazing, and lull attack defense, which is really good in the current meta. As far as Ashura's Chosen, you have Iot's Shield, attack res defense +9, true damage equals 70% of res minus foes res. So you're really trying to stack res on this unit. And then you have Dragon Wall for that DR that is of course pierceable. Twin Blades is still very good though, and you have the damage boost of 40% res, but you have piercing, which in this meta is absolutely critical. Must have it. So I've seen some really interesting things with this, and this build was just sent to me by Door, and I loved it. So the way this works is you are going to take this unit into the crazy ice Robin balls that they have right now, go in and smack Robin, and have Deadly Miasma spread across the way. From there, you're going to go in with the rest of your Gale Force team and just clean house. This unit does a decent job of surviving, and of course a lot of this depends on them not having a near save, but again, there are a lot of teams that don't run it that way. So this is a very creative way you can use this unit in the meta right now. As far as best friends, I mean, so I've got Felix up here. Really, that represents a Gale Force team, and you could definitely do a Gale Force build on this unit. I've seen it done a lot. You slap Wings of Mercy 4 on there, and again, Dual Phase Brave. It does excellent to clean up units that you need taken care of. And of course, the other Gale Force unit you're looking at there is Sigurd. She can run some different support options, but I really like her in the Gale Force role more because of her Dual Phase Brave. And Again, I mean, November 2019. This unit is 5 years old and still usable. That is a lot of fun.
Won't you just die?
There was a time when Thrasir demolished the meta. I mean, essentially took dragons and just ground them under her high-heeled boot. It was nuts. It is interesting to see this unit today, and even with dragons being absolutely dominant, she does have a little trouble piercing through Shield Fighter. Just a little bit. But there are still some fun things you can do with her. If we look at her Refine, and this unfortunately was one of the earlier ones, you get Dragon Effectiveness, you get an Omni +10, you get Slaying, No Follow-Up, and Lull Speed Res, which we talked about how good it is right now. Killing Intent Plus, we have minus Speed Res, Desperation, which is great, and to nearest foe within 5, and foes within 2 spaces, you get Exposure. So they went light on this Refine. Just to be completely honest, they really kind of held back, and I guess I understand why. This was kind of a terror for a long time, and sometimes when a unit does so well, they kind of taper back what they're going to do. I would have liked to see a little more, but there's still a lot in here about doing damage, especially versus dragons, and dragons are a huge part of the meta right now. If we look at the build, again, I just talked about Catra. You're going to see her a bit for a lot of these weaker nukes, and this is a unit that really, really needs her. But if you can get enough speed on her, you do get that 4th hit on Fjorm, which is so important. So keep that in mind. She, as a bonus season unit, this is someone who you can still use, and because she is an infantry unit, she has so many different skills that you can put on her. Here I've got her with Firm Kanto Curb Stomp. I know that seems expensive, but when you have it on a mythic, it means you can use it more regularly, and particularly in this season, it's important because you have Seithur on the other side quite a bit. Looking at units that she plays best with, we talked about Catra, and I mean, again, with Embla, like, this is Bridal Embla this time, but What I'm talking about there is this unit has enough firepower to snipe the back line. She absolutely does. And that's another place where you could put the Silica ring on her to get all the way around the opponent. She definitely needs help though. This is a September 2019 unit, so she needs to really get a boost.
The void takes.
And we have the first unit that I'm going to get things thrown at me for. And we have Kvasir all the way down here. This is a nuke that doesn't have supportive capabilities, that lacks killing power. And we kind of had a band-aid with Devoted Basket for a bit, but that went away when Breath of Life just became an every team occurrence. Let's look a little bit at the weapon here. We have Slaying and Omni +5. We have Inflict some nice debuffs, Special Acceleration, full NFU, which is nice. You have Pierceable DR, and you have an AoE Panic, which is nice. When you hit the unit, you can spread panic all the way around. Light is Time is actually a really good special. This boosts damage by 60% attack. You have Null Guard, and if unit initiates and triggers, grants to unit with high HP within 2 spaces another action and gravity on that ally. And if no one has acted, you get Timescape. Okay, so the thing is, the special, like I said, it's good. This is a good special, but it is in the AI's hands on defense. And that means that you have to trust that they're going to do the right thing and put this unit in the right situation when nothing in the AI has to do with who this unit's going to dance. It makes for an incredibly awkward unit that most of the time really doesn't help you out a ton. So this is a really neat gimmick in the wrong hands, and it is unfortunate. I like this unit. Let's look at a build here, and I had to go back to Devoted Basket, and even with Breath of Life being so prevalent, I still think this is her best build. And because of her HP being low, I put Occultist Strike on there as opposed to Resonance. I think the threshold is around the 50 HP region, which is not tough to get as long as the unit isn't a Mythic. Mythics have a much, much harder time getting everything out of Resonance that they possibly can, but this unit is all about burn damage and getting as much as possible. But you can see what kind of team she's in. This is very much going to be, I have a bonus season unit and I have to get her to work somehow. So you're hoping you can sneak around and hit the backline with this unit. Overall though, she's just tough to use. When we look at units she works best with, it's definitely what I'm looking at here is the latest version of the Cav line, which is that infantry pulse pasta with the with Robin to guard your team from most of the player phase shenanigans. But you have to extend her range with notes somehow. She needs that kind of thing. And I mean, just a lot of support to get this unit to work. So can this unit come back into the meta? Really, we would need Breath of Life to go away. That's what this unit is waiting for, and what would probably be most likely to happen there is something to come along that would be better than that somehow left Kvasir alone. I don't know what that is, but this is by far the newest unit in this tier at November 2023. So here's our score so far, and I've given each unit 1 point for their individual seasons, and you can see this tier is just dominated by Defense Mythics, and that makes sense. Defense Mythics just have not as much longevity. They're harder to make work because, again, AI's hands. Let's get into a little better tier though. So you can see how we're stacking up here. I'll stop in between each tier and go to this page, and we have D tier up next. These are unique role players. Most of them, though, their skills have been devalued. Keep in mind, again, that means they're still usable. They're just folks that do their job better. So we're going to open up with a fan favorite, unfortunately.
Please forgive me.
Ash is begging for a good refine, and I think she could get it. They've been very kind to beasts lately, so just be on the lookout for that. Let's go ahead and look at her kit though. We have Slaying, Attack +6, Attack -6, and okay, this is the weird one. Like, you have so many allies within 2 spaces. If it's 2, you get a guaranteed follow-up, and if it's 3, you get follow-up denial. And keep in mind, at the time, that was really good. We look at that now, we're like, that's a lot for not a lot. But yeah, and then you get Infantry Beast Transformation, which is pretty good. I mean, you get tempo out of that. So as far as opening retainer goes, you get Omni Warp, which keep in mind we didn't have much of this at all, so this was incredible. And then we have attack +4 to unit and allies within 2. Attack +4, like that's fantastic, right? I'm telling you, like this unit is screaming for refine. I hope she gets a good one. As far as the build highlight, I mean, this is the Gale Force build that you guys know and love. Attack speed wild, which is funny on a speed of 27, but I mean, you just get such good properties out of that with beast units. Wings of Mercy 4 is fantastic, and you got Quick and Pulse to get to Gale Force, but you can get that in different ways. And pair this unit up with Asker and Peony, and then, you know, pick your Gale Force unit du jour. Like, this unit is going to do a lot of good, honestly, because, again, she gets more things that she gets around people. So if you have a late round warp in that she then gets to be a nice Gale Force attack there and gets another action, that's fantastic. So, I mean, don't count this unit out. Again, she's a refine away from being very good, and I think she might get it. If we're looking at best friends, there's a couple things. Having her around armors is nice. And keep in mind, we just now hit the far save armor. Like, that is back in full force. And helping them get around is a big, big deal. And she does that. The other thing, we talked about the Gale Force support role, but also, I mean, if we're not talking about Felix, getting your Gale Force units into position is not trivial. Not to mention that getting pots at the end of the game, it is easier with this unit. We really needed more support, and her C skill's taken up, so she can't run Breath of Life. So, again, we're waiting for her refine. We're going to see what that is. This is a unit from December of 2021, though. This is a 3-year-old unit that we're looking at. So, I guess she should be better. Really, they should have given her more. But they were really worried about warping, and rightfully so.
A merciful death.
I have so many builds on air. So many builds on air. I used the heck out of this unit. Absolutely loved her. And honestly, the things she gives out aren't bad right now. It is interesting to see her come back in the meta. You pretty much have to get rid of Sparkling Boost, but there are still some ways that you can use this unit, especially because she's a dagger, giving her things like Disarm Trap. It can be a lot of fun. Let's look at the refine, though. This is Lithia-Berg, and you get Res +3, you get an Omni +8, you get attack Res plus 20% of HP, you get Follow-Up Denial Guard, Dagger 7 of course, and 7 HP to unit and allies within 2, which, I mean, in this day and age, having Breath of Life isn't great unless it's the 4th version, but the Tier 3 version is not great. Sparkling Boost Plus, this is interesting, and getting 20 HP to ally with most damage is something that can be helpful, and if that's all you've got on her is just fine. And the last thing here is Res +5 to allies if HP is greater than 55%, and both of those are good. We just have such powerful skills right now, and if you look at the build suggestion here, putting Soaring Echo on her and that Crux skill along with Potent Disarm, and then you get the Canto out of the attack speed mastery, going in and taking out traps and then running away is just fantastic. Like, that is very, very useful, along with the other support she provides. She is an okay cleanup unit, but I would prefer to have someone else. Again, this is not a high tier unit, but the fact that you can do this and still have some things go on, like if you get lethality all the way proc, which would take some doing, but I mean, you can do it. She does hit enough to take out some unit that's just stray running around. So she can kill something. That's right. She can kill something. As far as her team, I've got her on a team with Tamara and Gatekeeper. And I mean, you can kind of see how that works. You've seen this a million times, right? You have Gatekeeper like somewhere in the back, and you have Tamara up front with at least one unit behind her so she gets Breath of Life. And I mean, basically, Air is just back there in the back helping with the setup and also just helping with support with Speed Res Crux. But I mean, you guys have seen this. Like, this is a good way to use this unit, and if you've had this unit since the very beginning, this is fantastic. As far as best friends, we talked about boosting up res, which is nice in the current meta right now. I've got Tamara and Fjorm as units that she works best with. But, I mean, this unit is from 2018. The thing about her is if you have merges on her, if she's merged up, you can still use this unit. That's what's so fantastic. That is 6 years old right there, which is phenomenal. And she still performs decently as an enemy phase support. Most of that is because of the skills that flyers have gotten, but the fact that she's also a mythic makes her valuable in some way, shape, form, or fashion if you have merges on her. If you don't, I'm not going to tell you to go out and get this unit, but still, this is a good unit to have.
Into my embrace.
Oh, Nerþuz. All right. The thing that we wanted for this unit that would have made her so good is if we would have had the Wings of Mercy seal. Like, everyone was predicting that would happen. We were waiting for it. And then they came out with the Wings of Mercy attuned skill, which is not as good on this unit because then you can't run Fruit of Life, and Fruit of Life is good. So, I mean, there are still definite ways to use this unit, and we're going to talk about those, but this unit is a Gale Force initiator, the way she's set up, and it is really hard for your mythics to be the tip of the spear. That is a lot of damage, and that needle is always moving. Like, it's a moving target to be able to hit that hard. If we're looking at her kit, Horn of Land has Slaying, and then you get a lot of stats, and then you get Special Acceleration and Null Follow-Up, and of course Cav Transform, and then there's Fruit of Life that has Speed Defense -5, and you get AoE Gravity, which as far as hit and run styles, like, you guys have had the Gale Force clears where you go in and you have to panic because you didn't bring enough firepower and have to run away. If those units are gravitied, your job is so much easier. It really, really is. But other than that, we have Pierceable DR, we have offensive tempo if solo, and you have Ice Mirror, which is that whole reflective damage. So, I mean, this unit is a lot of fun, but this is built like a Gale Force initiator when she needs to be a Gale Force follow-up unit. So the kit doesn't really match what she needs to be. Her preference needed to be in her A or in her C skill to really make the full use out of her. The build highlight, I still have Wings of Mercy 4 on there, and Attack Speed Fortune is really interesting right now, and getting that Beast transformation right off the bat is fantastic. And you have Alarm Attack Speed for, I mean, Kanto as a Gale Force unit is fantastic. You can use this unit. Like, this is a good build. You can see I've put her in a Gale Force team right here, even with Hræsvelgr, so Hræsvelgr can come in and, you know, knock out the problem units that somehow Felix and Sigurd couldn't get, which I joke, but I mean, there are a lot of very bulky teams right now, so she can come in and help with all of that. And I mean, this is a good build. You just wanted a little more versatility out of her, and you're not really getting it. The units she works best with are, I mean, I say Felix here, but really any of your Gale Force initiators, and then anyone who enhances her damage. And Triandra with that burn damage is very nice. Keep in mind at that point in the game, normally the Breath of Life unit has been done away with. So that's when burn damage becomes very, very valuable once again. But this is an April 2023 unit. You really expect a little better out of this, so her refine is a ways off. But if this was your favorite, you can still use her on Gale Force teams pretty reliably.
By my flame.
Naga is such an interesting unit. She's another one of those. She can come back into the meta and suddenly become just absolutely cracked because of giving, I mean, dragons. They're everywhere. Having this unit as a +10 means you can hand out dragon effectiveness to someone like Bernie, and you get 4 effective hits on a lot of very powerful units like Na or Nagi, and that's incredibly powerful in and of itself, but that's really all she does. If this unit had Gale Force available, and I know I sound like a broken record, but she would have one more thing you could do with her, and that's something that you could really get a lot of use out of, that's just not the case. But you have Divine Breath here, and you get an additional attack +3, and then you get weird stats based on the number of units that have dragon effectiveness. It's max 9, which, I mean, in today's meta, Usually that's max 14, so you can tell how far power creep has gone. You get true damage, which is 25% of attack minus foe's res. You get pierceable DR, and then Divine Fang is really where it's at. Like, you could actually just replace Divine Breath and you'd be just fine. Divine Fang giving dragon effectiveness is really powerful right now, and will continue to be powerful and not powerful and powerful and not powerful. And so you'll have places to use this unit from now until the end of the game, to be completely honest. But I mean, the other thing she's giving is an offensive guaranteed follow-up, which is really good for Gale Force teams. And then a visible attack speed 6, also good for Gale Force teams. I'm telling you, Dragon Gale Force, it's got to be here somewhere, right? So, anyway, let's move on. Let's just move on. This is the Gale Force build, because I just really wanted this unit in a Gale Force team. You can see I've got Ice Dragonstone on there, and honestly, we talked about it, but Divine Breath, it's a little bit dated, and Ice Dragonstone is actually quite nice. I've given her extra attack with that. I know that's only 1 point, but 41 attack is pretty low. And then you have attack speed Scowl, Wings of Mercy, you get that Divine Fang plus, and then Dragon's Wrath to boost up her damage just a bit more, because again, that is criminally low attack right there. So, this unit is very usable. The reason she is so nice on a Gale Force team with units like Gullveig and units like Felix is that, dragon effectiveness. So she can come in and possibly kill one unit, but by handing out stuff to these other units, it makes her incredibly valuable. I've got reposition on there that should have been Smite, and then she can, be a Smite bot as well. It is debated in some circles that her best Gale Force build is actually aerial maneuvers with Smite, so that she can run in and knock someone up, because she's gonna have so much trouble killing someone. But I don't want to hear it. Naga's one of my favorites. She's great. It is interesting that she scores 758. I'm probably not going to suggest you take this unit into Arena, but that is something that if you have her built up, she is right on the underside. 760 right now is about the lowest I'll bring into Arena, and this unit doesn't quite make it. But if you have her merged up, that is still something that you can do and be in the lower tiers. As far as best friends, really anyone who wants dragon effectiveness. The rolls, and we talked about it, that's why she's low, and that's why a lot of these units are low, is she is very, very, she's a one-trick pony. You get dragon effectiveness, and that's it.
There is no hope.
It is wild to me how much hate this unit gets. It's really incredible. And the main reason is she's baitable. Like that is the biggest thing. And they didn't help any when they made her refine offensive. That doesn't help us any. There's a lot of different things you can do with this, but let's look at the kit itself. She's still a refresher, so she's still decent. We got Flower of Sorrow, and attack speed res -8 in combat, defense res -4 in cardinal directions. That also helps out your teammates. You got a guaranteed follow-up, and you got 10 splash damage, so that Savage Blow effect. Most of that is so worthless on a dancer. It just, hand her another tome and be done with it. We have Frightful Dream Plus, and again, probably the best thing this unit does is dance. To foes in cardinal direction, and this is good, but again, it's cardinal direction that is very narrow. You get Omni Ruse -3, you get an attack speed defense res -5, you get guard, you get discord. So, again, this is usable because she's a refresher, because she's a mythic refresher. She's free in that way, but making her baitable is just painful, and they really doubled down on it. So what do? We have a level 1 +1 Triandra, who cannot get baited by anyone, because with an attack of 13 in this meta, that's just not gonna do it. I have Dancer's Ring on there. That's not really what you're going to put on there, but I thought it was funny. I've even gone so far as to put Fortress Res 6 on there to make sure she doesn't have enough attack to do anything. But honestly, this is something you could use. Like, you have Guidance 4 on there. You have Miracle, which is funny. But you have Firestorm Dance, which can also be supportive. The hard part about this, and the thing is, you're going to have to build up a Triandra. You're going to have to get all the skills on her and then merge her into another Triandra that's at level 1, and then you can't do anything because you won't have enough SP to actually get that done. It's a little painful, but I do have a Dancer at level 1+1, and it's very phenomenal for the right kinds of defenses. So if you need a Triandra to work, this is probably the best way to do it. As far as units she does well with, units that want to dance, and she's a good refresher. Like that's Triandra. You guys know Triandra. All of you, anyone who's used Triandra understands all of this. This unit can be very, very painful, but I mean, also she's a dancer. How many times do I have to say that?
Useless.
Oh, Arval, they're interesting. This is another unit that, I mean, in a different meta, we've seen this unit in a different meta. They're kind of incredible. Right now, though, the whole thing this unit does is guard, right? Like, that's the biggest part of this kit. Like, this isn't even that big of a kit. You have slaying, true damage, and guard within 3 rows, 3 columns. It is nice, by the way, that the true damage stacks with AoEs. That's fantastic. But, I mean, as far as duality goes, you get a visible attack res +9. Attack res +9 is big. But then you get triangle adapt and cancel affinity. That's something. Basically, this is like callback to the Raven Tome era. Guard just isn't cutting it right now because there's so many special jumps out there. Like, units just ignore that altogether. It's all about scowl and special jump, and the meta just passed this unit by hard. And I mean, if we look at builds for this unit, you can still put this unit in a Catria Ball where this unit really, really excelled. I've got them with Resonance 4 and Creation Pulse. He really needs about 4 more HP, which you could pretty easily do if you had like 1 more merge and, you know, some flowers. But it's hard to tell you to go out and do that to a unit that is struggling right now. Still, Creation Pulse along with the guard effect that this unit is putting out is pretty good, and Glacies for a res of 60 is also very, very good. So this is a way that you can use this unit, but he needs Catria to back him up. And we talked about Catria right now is still a bit hit or miss, although is coming back into the meta. Still, I mean, you have Hathran there, and Hathran makes everything just fine. As far as units that this works well with, they work well with Catria, and again, we have Bridal Embla, and being able to snipe units off the back line is very important, and this unit does hit hard enough for that, absolutely. But best rolls, you have range nuke and AoE nuke. I've seen this unit used a ton as an AoE nuke. AoEs have been nerfed a lot recently, but they're still very valuable in the meta right now, and Arval can be used. They're just struggling a bit at the moment.
Meet your defeat.
The thing that sets Bramimond just a little bit above Arval right now is the feud effect he has, and that is actually pretty valuable right now. Feud is very, very good, especially for folks who outsource Breath of Life. That can be very handy. The problem is hitting hard enough, and that is definitely an issue with a lot of nukes right now. If we look at the kit, we have attack speed defense res of 9499, which is really weird. I don't know why they just didn't give it 9 across the board. Apparently they didn't want to give him speed. We also have special jumping if the foe has slaying, which is a weird kind of even the playing field type thing that I kind of love. We have a true damage of 15% of foe's attack. You have some pierceable DR, but impenetrable void is what's really driving this unit, and that feud effect is phenomenal, as well as piercing. So you get 50% DR piercing, which is fantastic, and you get an Omni -5. This is a unit where if we had more options for colorless tomes, you might be able to replace Void Tome and make him very, very good. This is a unit that really benefited from burn damage quite a bit, but that has since gone and really nerfed a lot of nukes. I still have on their build, I still have a Cultist Strike there, which utilizes that, but again, I think really you're not using this unit as the tip of the spear. This is a snipe the back line. I know I've said that a lot with these nukes, but that is still valuable. Having a unit that hits hard enough that they can take out some of the bulkier mythics that are left over is not a small thing, and this unit can do that, especially in light season when you have mythic Embla and a lot of the crazy things you have going on with the tanks and shield fighter being so strong that people can't pierce through. You get a lot of interesting things with this unit in that way. We've already talked about it, but absolutely the units that this unit works best with are Catria and Embla. This is a pure ranged nuke. I would have liked to have seen more supportive roles, but I mean, you get what you get on this unit. This is a March 2020 unit, and here we are.
Serpent, arise!
You always get occasional jumps in between tiers, and this is one of those. Like, the difference between Bramimond and Gullveig is it's significant enough, but not enough to bump Gullveig into the next tier. But this is still a really fun unit. What I like about her are there's some other modes that you can use her in, and she can be a lot of fun in that way. But she still suffers from not being able to hit hard enough, which is tough. As far as what we have here, I mean, this is Slaying, Omni +5. You get attack speed plus 15% of unit speed. You get pierceable DR, you get null follow-up, 7 HP after combat, and here's the big thing with Gullveig, and the thing that is always amazing. If unit initiates, grants another action and inflicts gravity. The gravity's not so much a big deal right now because of the Celica ring and other kind of warping thing, but it still is the thing. Then we get Time of Light, which is so much better than what Kvasir had, and this is boost damage by 40% of speed, you get offensive tempo, and if procs, grants another action and inflicts gravity to this unit. So you get a lot of actions, and there are some fun things you can do with this unit, but ultimately this should have been an offensive mythic. I mean, that is where this unit, look at that, like that is where this unit belongs. She doesn't really hit hard enough. She did when she first came out for a very short amount of time, but units are so bulky right now that she has really fallen behind. If you look at build highlights, I really thought about using her in a chaos scenario, because I think in chaos raids she's actually kind of phenomenal. Like you can just have a Gullveig emblem there and just have so many actions. It's a lot of fun. But this is a kind of a Cavline situation that we're looking at here. And again, in conjunction with these other units already have so many actions. Having this unit being able to come up behind them and smash things is really nice. And she can be used in that very well with your level 1+1 Triandra. And, you know, you've got it down there with Nott, and you can spread out the range. And this unit is a lot of fun, but again, we get into AI hands. Like this is a unit that was really meant to be in the player's hands, not the AI's. As far as best friends, I mean, how many times are we going to say Embla? Like, again, the point there is this is a backline sniper, and being able to extend range with Nott is also very good. She is a ranged nuke. The reason she isn't higher because of that Gale Force is because since she's a defensive mythic, there are just so few places you can use her. I will say, in Allegiance battles, I use Infantry Pulse's Gullveig all the time, and she is incredible there. So if you're looking for a unit to add on there, definitely look towards that one.
It is your time!
Seiros is next, and is above Gullveig. Probably this is the second one that I'm going to get smacked on. The problem is she has a definite use case right now, and infantry melee units have gotten such a leg up. Let's talk about her kit first. Guaranteed follow-up, attack defense +10, follow-up denial, guard, slaying, true damage equals 15% of res on first attack, dragon wall, and healing of 7 HP post-combat. As far as Wings of Light goes, this was a little more interesting. If you have 3 or fewer mythics on a team, you get an Omni plus turn number +3 max of 8 on those mythics. And then you get a damage reduction of 30%. That is pierceable. That's interesting to have as an effect, just like map-wide, though. And then to allies within 3 rows and 3 columns, you get an Omni +4 and a special cooldown -1. To this unit, if she has an ally within 3 rows and 3 columns, you have special cooldown +1, Omni +5, and that damage reduction of 30%. Let's move to the build, though. The thing that you can do with this unit is you can put her up as a frontliner, and she does really well versus Felix. And I mean, that alone is valuable enough to put her up this high. It's really interesting. The fact that she also gives support to her team is valuable. So she has a clear role that she can perform right now while giving stats to the rest of your defense. It's something to look at. So, I mean, you put her here on a team with Freyja and Fomortiis as the near save and Fjorm as the far save, and you put her on a team with her as the frontliner, and a lot of good things can happen there. Melee frontliners right now are very, very valuable, especially ones that can keep Felix at bay. I mean, that's all I can say there. As far as best friends, I mean, Hathran is everyone's best friend, but also just working with Fjorm and those far savers in general, that is incredibly valuable. Having a bulky frontline where you don't need a near savior is very valuable, and that's something you can do with this unit. It's also worth noting that this unit scores 760, which is usable in Arena, but yeah, this unit got a huge glow up and needed it, so it's nice to see that. So that completes D tier. You can see kind of the lay of the land and what happened. Now, I'm just doing this per this tier. I wanted to look at the individual ones, and you can see light mythics were just really representing here, as well as anima mythics. The fewest here were Astra, and that is poor old Naga holding down the fort. But you can kind of see how things are stacking up. We have gotten more points, and you'll get even more points for C tier here in just a second. Okay, now we're really cooking here, and this C tier are good role players, but they require specific scenarios. But specific scenarios, depending on that scenario, these units can be incredibly valuable. And unlike the units in D tier, a lot of these scenarios are very relevant to the meta right now. We get into some really fun ones, including a recent refine here up first.
For Fafnir.
Fallen PM1 is here, and you're probably wondering why this unit isn't higher. We're gonna get into that. This unit has struggled just because of what they do and really the amount of killing power they have. That is the biggest thing. Like, you can, in today's meta, you need to either be amazing at support or amazing at killing or good at both. And this unit, this unit is unique, and that's why they're in this tier. If we look at the weapon itself, you get Canto 3, which is not great on defense. I'm here to tell you right now. You get attack +6 and then inflict attack -6. You get a guaranteed follow-up. You get follow-up denial. You get DR piercing, which is fantastic. And then to allies within 2 spaces, you get to ignore terrain, which is very valuable but not unique. You get insight. You get attack defense res +5, and then you get the whole bonus reversal thing and 20% true damage, which is nice. All of that is okay. The real thing you're looking at there is that terrain ignoring, and that is very valuable on a lot of different maps. Keep in mind, for Cavs, that only means trenches. They can't go through, wooded areas. That includes, beasts who for some reason can't do that, and no one knows why. But the thing about the effect is it's a bit niche, and when it is valuable, it is incredibly useful, but there are always other ways around that. The fact that it's in a mythic is what puts him in this tier, though, and I think there's going to be some very creative things to do with him. Brutal Shell is what I really wanted to be better, and it just wasn't. You get to charge the special on turns 1 through 4, which is nice. You boost damage by 50% of defense, and then you get 40% non-pierceable DR. That is good, but it's not the most amazing thing we've ever seen. And I was kind of hoping we would see a redemption arc for this unit, and we did somewhat. There was a long way for this unit to go, and we have gone all the way from almost Sothis tier up into C tier. So if you look at the delta, this unit has come a long way. I wanted worst to first, because that's always fun to see, and we didn't quite get that. If you're looking at the build, I mean, you're going to do the standard thing, right? Attack Defense XL came with the unit and is very good on him. You can do a lot of fun things with the B skill. I like the Flow Guard skill. It's kind of fun, and the whole Scowl on a Cav is great, and just whatever you do, don't do Attack Defense Menace in the C skill, and you'll be great. So this unit, again, is just going to lack a lot of killing power, but you can put him on the melee nuke squads that go in and just smash things, and he can do a decent job there. As far as units that this one works well with, I honestly, off the top of my head, the Cavs are what's going to do best. And you have Sigurd ignoring trenches, and you have units like Lucina, the new dual Lucina, ignoring trenches as well. But you also have all sorts of infantry units that can ignore forests, and there's a lot of interesting things you can do with terrain. Ultimately, I'm curious what folks do with this unit, but right now, definitely more of a C tier. If I sound a little disappointed, I am, because I was hoping for great, and we got good.
Foolish mortals.
Medeus still is the biggest defense against Bolt Tower. Just absolutely. And I mean, Bolt Tower is still a very, very powerful strategy. The reason this unit isn't up higher is because at this point, that's the main thing he does. But the reason he is up this high is because he's the only unit that can give out on guard. I keep expecting it to come out on some other unit, and it doesn't. If you look at what this unit has, you have attack +2, attack res -6, follow-up denial, adaptive damage, and at start of turn, you get attack res +6 to unit and allies within 2, and on guard to unit and allies within 2. Assured Breath is if res is greater than foe's res, so you want to stack res on this unit. You get a guaranteed follow-up, you get pierceable DR, and you get Dragon Wall. All of this is nice, and keep in mind, melee units generally have less piercing than other types do, but that is quickly changing right now. But again, infantry units got a huge glow up, and Lagoo's Friend 4 exists, and this unit can use it very well. You throw Firm Canto Curb Stomp on this unit and Defense Res Scowl, and you are cooking. Like, this unit does a lot of good, and while he doesn't hold up quite like Seiros does, he can toe the line if you have him at max merges and max flowers. At the +1, he's going to give teams a little bit of a heartache, but they're still going to struggle. The main use for him are really the stall balls, and being able to stop any sort of Bolt Tower action from making those easier to pick off is a huge deal. It's why he's still useful to this day, and that's just wild to me. When you talk about units this unit works best with, it's the Saviors. Those are the units that need every bit of HP that they possibly can get, and this unit gives it to you. It's worth mentioning that this unit can function in Arena at 762. I would not bring this unit into Arena. Let me know in the comments if that's an experience you've had different, but this unit it's like Swiss cheese. I mean, you can just absolutely carve through this unit in Arena right now.
I think not.
I really thought Gotoh was going to have more staying power than he did. The problem was he came out and then nukes got immediately better. Like the power spike happened and they went absolutely bonkers. You can still use this unit though because of the very interesting support, and let's go over it. We have Brilliant Starlight, we have Slaying, Attack Res -6, Lull Attack Res, Null Counter Disrupt, which is very good, and healing of 7 HP after combat. And then to unit and allies within 2 spaces, you get Defense Res +6 and AoE DR equals 80%, which is huge. That is such a big deal in the meta right now and is incredibly valuable. I understand that Nurgle and Tina exist. This is still really good. Those are not on every team, and there are so many things that teams have to have on them to counter any kind of shield fighter shenanigans that a lot of times they just get left off. Gift of Magic, you get attack res -10 for ranged and in player phase. And then you get a guaranteed follow-up, and then damage reduction equals 80% on second attack onwards, which is not great since we have so much piercing right now. But past that, then you have Force Desperation. So the unit just gets to absolutely smack you 4 times in a row if they're brave, which we just had a whole bunch of ninjas that are. It is not fantastic unless they can't pierce damage reduction, which everyone can right now. So, I mean, that's unfortunate. I went with a supportive build here because he's just not tanking a whole lot right now. There is a case for him, and I'll backpedal just a little bit. If Cavlines come back as a secondary tank, he is quite good. But right now, Cavlines are melee Cavlines, and this unit does not do well against those. But just know that will cycle back around. We will get the Cavline, that meta will come back. It always comes back, and this unit will be good again at that point. Back to this. You have Sabotage, you have a Ploy skill, and you have that AoE reduction. That is very nice to have on a team. Alternately, you could put Breath of Life on there, which we've said enough is very, very good. This unit can still work and function, and the AoE reduction is so key to the meta right now, which is why I have him this high. Right now, you're seeing him on a team with Tamara. I like him on the Omni-Tank teams better because he can give the effect, and then they can go off at a distance. And that is a big, big thing and comes in very handy. As far as units that he works best with, I've got Ike here. He's incredibly good with Ike. And then, of course, Fjorm. Right now, Fjorm doesn't need the extra AoE reduction, but talk to me after we test these ninja units. You guys know how this works. Nukes are about to come slamming into us that can counter Shield Fighter, and when they do, I mean, you're going to need all the healing and all the DR you can possibly get, and AoE DR is incredibly valuable. So, this unit is a tank support. That's really all he does, but that is... It is a good niche right now.
Fall to ruin.
I can almost hear half of you like, Duma, what is he doing up this high? Shield Fighter Duma is something. I was shocked by this unit. This unit can actually perform with Shield Fighter, and this is a mythic. So getting a free near save, and I say free, obviously very expensive to outfit, but as far as, you know, roll compression, having him be both a mythic and a near save is incredibly valuable right now. If we look at what exactly this unit does, there's so many conditions on this. So, Fell Breath, if foe's HP is less than 100% or unit's attack is greater than foe's attack, you get attack res +6 and you get follow-up denial. If unit initiates or within 2 of an ally, you get attack +5 in combat, attack -5 as debuff, and first attack has a damage reduction of 30%. And then you get true damage equals 30% of unit's attack minus foe's res. Then we have Upheaval, and this is the minus 10 damage to everyone, and then it's a catapult. And then if unit's attack is greater than foe's attack, you get lull all. All of that's good. The problem with all of the attack stats that you're seeing in there is most of the nukes right now are just, they're going to have more attack than you. And in order to be a near save with this unit, you're going to have to take off Upheaval. And it's not great. It's not perfectly synergistic, but that's how good Shield Fighter is right now. That's how overtuned that skill is. And you can see right now we have the fortifications, DR Twin and Save, and Shield Fighter. Now, before you panic and go just crazy over this, the piece you need here is Shield Fighter, and the others are whatever. You know, you can do just regular old attack, defense, near save, and you'd be just fine. But again, I did say this was max invest, and this is it right here. Pavis, don't forget that you have to have Marthring in order for that to work. This is a lot of fun, so keep that in mind. This is good stuff right here. As far as the team goes, I've got it on a team with Hathrin and Fjorm, and I mean, you know the team. You know this team exactly. This is the whole Hathrin ball, and he works pretty well in that. As far as units that this does well with, you've got Fjorm, and then you've also got like some sort of nuke who also offers cooldown reduction. If you notice, this unit didn't have slaying, so in order to get Pavis to work, you really need one more cooldown, and so that's one of the things that Neith of Ullr does so well. But best role is clearly a near savior. Again, this is January 2019, and we're still able to revamp this unit and use him. I was absolutely shocked by how well this unit performs. Maybe some of that has to do with how he's paired with Hathrin, but it's still a role that this unit can take on.
My feet stand firm.
Ullr is interesting, and I'm coming to terms with cleanup units in Aether Rays in general and their value. And this unit does that very, very well, although she can be used in other places because she's that strong. Potent is fantastic, and it is an interesting thing on this unit. Let's talk about exactly the skills and everything. So, Holy Ufel, you have Slaying, Null Guard, Attack Speed plus 12. You have null debuffs on attack speed. You have Feud. We talked about how valuable that is right now. Attack speed plus 15% of unit speed. She just keeps on stacking speed there. You have 50% DR piercing, you have speed defense -5, desperation, offensive null follow-up, and if speed is greater than foe speed -10, potent 100%. So you've got 3 attacks and they're all hitting at 100%. Keep in mind, if she doubles, that 3rd attack is going to be, you can't shield fighter that. Like, that pierces right through, and you can time a special to where it hits on the first hit and then on the last hit, and that's how she takes out Fjorm fairly easily, and it doesn't take a whole lot of investment to do it. This is something that is really fun and can open up your Gale Force teams quite a bit. I've got your pretty typical Gale Force team right now. I mean, you've got Lumera there to take out a lot of the ice. Peony is just on every team ever. Then you've got Gullveig, because you can take out Fjorm, and then you've got Felix to either help finish off or have the versatility to just go after the melee units. This is one of the reasons why Gale Force is so powerful right now and how versatile everything is. And this unit helps a ton with that. You can see I've got attack speed finish 4. The specific build I have on here was, I believe this was put up by Dark on Twitter, and I apologize if I got that wrong. You can leave it down in the comics and I'll pin you. But the attack speed finish 4, attack speed oath 4, and then blade sessions and miracle. The thing that miracle does is, if the Fjorm has any sort of hardy bearing, this unit can then survive that hit and then keep going. And depending on the Fjorm, and it is dependent on the investment level, but most Fjorms go down to that. So that is something that is incredibly powerful, and that kit is not that expensive. That is pretty phenomenal. As far as best friends, I mean, we talked about the team there. You've got the Gale Force folks, but the other units that really benefit from this are your saviors. And I know that seems funny, but a lot of the saviors right now don't have a lot of killing power. Fjorm is the exception. She does have a lot, but a lot of the near saviors are running shield fighter and just hoping that they survive. This unit can come in once they survive and go in and just smash things. And that is very, very valuable right now. So the main roles are the player phase nuke and then the cleanup unit.
Just like Fafnir.
Reginn is one of my favorites. I like the character a lot, but I also like the playstyle. It is interesting to have this unit who just flies around the map, and with a lot of the things right now, she flies even more. The thing that this unit doesn't give you is a lot of killing power, and that's disappointing, but there are still things that she can do, and I think because of that, she's very valuable as a support unit, a cleanup unit, and really a lot of other things like getting pots. So let's look at specifically, you have speed plus 3, you've got Canto 3 on turn 1 through 4, which is so annoying that it's only turn 1 through 4. There have been a couple times where on turn 5. Anyway, attack speed defense res of 10, 10, 8, and 8. DR equals 40% on first attack. You got a true damage of 20% times speed. You have null follow-up. Sather Shell charges on turn 1 through 4, which is very nice. It boosts damage by a flat 20, which again is very nice. And then you get adaptive damage. Where's the piercing? I needed a few more things on this unit, and they didn't give it to us. But let's look at a different kind of thing here. So build highlights here. This is more of a fun build, and this is Attack Speed Excel, Flow Guard 4, and Shadow Shift 4. If you're looking for something more practical, you can go back to what we did with Freyja. And I mean, I run Breath of Life depending on what unit I'm running her with. Breath of Life is incredibly valuable, and you can do a Ruse 4 on her as well. This is nice for cleanup though, and in particular that Shadow Shift 4 is incredibly powerful for getting units into place and getting this unit out of the way. Her having fixed Canto 3 is what really makes that pop. Being able to take Tamara and reposition her up and then move over and reposition someone else into place is incredibly valuable. So that is something that this unit can be used for. I was hoping this unit could be used for more than just a pot hound and support, but that is not what we got here. As far as the best friends, I mean, for near savior teams, it is really important to be able to go out and get pots, and this unit does that very well. We also have the multiple actions with Shadow Shift, which is incredibly valuable. If you are running her as a Gale Force unit, then Asker is fantastic to have as an ally there. So those are two things you can do. You can definitely run this unit as a Gale Force cleanup unit, and the Canto is hugely beneficial as well as the Shadow Shift.
Light above.
Elimine has been waiting in the shadows to pounce, and we are starting to see her value come back. And the reason all Elimine needs to be amazing is for Freyja to go away. And there are so many units that you want to have on your defense that Freyja is not as prevalent as he once was, and Elimine fans and all of you who have her merged to +10 know exactly what I'm talking about. There are also a lot of things that they've given staffs right now. This unit has quietly gained value, and I think she's going to be gaining even more because Freyja is getting older. Looking at what this weapon and this kit does, we have Staff of Saint. Foe cannot counterattack. To allies within 2 spaces, you get defense res +6. And to foes in cardinal direction, false start, which has always been the thing that's been so amazing about her. And then Holy Ground, to allies within 2 spaces, you get DR equals 30%. No one cares. And defense res +4, again, no one cares. You can just get rid of Holy Ground altogether and you'll be just fine. The staff is what you really, really want. The build highlight, I have her on a savior team, and I mean, this is a fantastic team if you have all of these built up. This is Plumeria, Echthenir, and Elimine for your saviors, which is going to just take out a whole lot of stuff. But yeah, I mean, Fjorm, you got Nagi as a near save. This is going to absolutely destroy things. Speed Res Discord is really, really fantastic for a lot of different scenarios, and I like that in the B, but understand there are a lot of different things you can put on these units right now. Glitter of Light is also fun. Keep in mind that you're not going to do a whole lot of damage unless you have something wrathful in that B skill though. This unit surprisingly has a lot of build flexibility, so you can kind of have fun with that. As far as best partners, tanks. I say that. I should have mentioned the fact that if Freyja's not there, she can turn off Robin's ice is huge. Such a big deal, and I would bring this unit in Chaos Season. Honest to God, the amount of teams that I've been able to shut down because Chaos Season, you just don't have as many units, so it's harder to bring Freyja, and you have a lot of Robin. And having a player phase team with this unit turning off ice, and units have so many actions right now, you just run over people. But this unit is much better than people think she is, and she is making a hard comeback.
A goddess's blessing.
I have Mila up next, and the thing is I do have her edging out Elimine right now, but I have Mila kind of on the downtrend and Elimine on the uptrend, if that makes any sense here. So I do like this unit a whole lot, but understand that Elimine will probably pretty shortly pass this unit up. That doesn't mean this unit is bad though. Isolation is very, very good. Always and forever will be an excellent skill. If we're looking at the kit itself, Nurturing Breath, Defense +3, you get lots of stats, adaptive damage, units within 7 rows and 7 columns, and that is huge, by the way. Get Lull Attack and an Omni +4, which is just free stats. I mean, that's fantastic. Mila's Turn Will 2 gives Follow-Up Denial, which is nice. Inflicts on foes within cardinal directions with less defense, guard, and isolation. So, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but stacking defense is very good on this unit. It's just what you want to do. And the other thing, this is really sneaky, but increasing the ARO turn limit, especially for savior teams, is really valuable because pots are annoying right now. Supremely annoying because of all the threat range. Having an extra turn to get them is very, very nice. As far as the build highlight, I had to show it. I had to. I mean, how can you not show this? You've seen this before, you've seen the highlights, but the Blazing Wind Mila is hilarious to me, and it actually works. That's just fantastic. So I had to put this up there. You guys know all of the other builds. Like this unit has been built and rebuilt and was so meta defining. So many of you folks have this unit. But do you have the Blazing Wind version? So this is fun and again can work very well, especially in conjunction with Bridal Embla, which we've talked about a ton in this episode, but she is a very, very good support. If you're looking at best friends, hit and run teams love this unit. And in the meta right now, that is more valuable than you might think. Being able to shut down dancers is incredibly powerful. It's a little less so right now because you have such huge threat range with Felix, but understand that won't always be that way. And as soon as dancers come back, this unit will gain even more value, or more likely she'll just stay the same. Like, I don't know that this unit will ever get worse than this because isolation is so powerful unless they pull a Freyja and just completely nerf it.
A blade must cut.
I feel like I've been up and down on Hræsvelgr a lot during this process. And the issue is this unit does a lot, but just comes short of greatness. Like, there's a ton of potential here, but doesn't quite get there in a lot of different ways. This is still a really good tier, but I mean, being the newest light mythic, I wanted her in like S or A tier, and instead we're here. So this is still a really good unit, don't get me wrong, but I was hoping for more. When we look at Quieting Claw, we have Slaying, Omni +5. This is huge, by the way. You understand, I keep on having to decrease the font in order to fit all of the things in these kits. We have True Damage equals number of statuses on foes ×3. We have damage reduction of 40%. We have piercing of 50%. You have +1 movement when she's transformed. And closest foe and the foe within 2 spaces of those gets speed defense -7, exposure, and anti-miracle on them, which is just, it's like a shot in the face to Marnie. It just, I don't know what they were thinking there. Then we have Divine Talent, which in my opinion is probably the more amazing of the two of these, although the true damage from Quieting Claw is really good and you can get a lot of it. Divine Talent, you get +1 movement to dragons, beasts, armors, and infantry, which is really interesting and can be incredibly powerful. You also get an Omni +5, you get Null Follow-Up, Null Guard, and then you get a whole lot of the Excel things. You get flat DR of 12 on regular attacks, and on specials you get an additional flat DR. At start of turn to unit and allies, you also get penalty cleansing. Keep in mind this is the Sappy version and not the Freyja version. And then you get 1 HP damage to unit and allies in 2 spaces. We're all still confused about that, but it is a thing this unit has. If we're looking at the build, I mean, it's interesting to me. So this is just a completely gutted kit, which is fascinating because, I mean, the unit came with a lot of good things, but you need, in order to be a Gale Force unit, which it feels like this unit wanted to be, you need special acceleration, and attack speed wild is going to get you that. You got Wings of Mercy 4 and then Quicken Pulse. I have this up there and she performs just fine, but again, this is, now and again, IS does this thing. where they try to make a unit that does everything and they come just short on all things. And this is kind of that case. But the things that she does well enough. Like, this is really, I would say this is on par with Nerþuz as far as a Gale Force unit, but she also hits a lot harder. So she can also be a cleanup unit. It means that she's Nerþuz in one area, but has different pieces that she can be in as well. She's still a 2024 unit though, and I mean, you would expect her to be better than C tier. That's really what you're looking at right now. 762 is absolutely usable in Arena, and I will say in Arena she would be amazing. This would be a fantastic Arena unit. And don't forget, you don't have to use blessings on Mythics as long as they're in the correct season. But the best friends are definitely going to be any of your Gale Force team folks, and then your saviors, because then you can go in and do a lot of cleanup. This is melee nuke, cleanup unit, and movement support. This is a good unit, but again, there are the disappointment that you keep hearing in everyone's voices is there was so much potential here, and she's a good unit.
I won't lose.
Veyle is another one I kind of struggle with. The reason she's down this far is I never expected Scowl to be irrelevant is completely the wrong term, but there are so many places you could get it that it is not as unique. It's still incredibly powerful, and Veyle is incredibly powerful, but she has definitely lost a bit of her shine because of, well, really it's not even the Scowl effect. It's the fact that you need to be in two spaces. That is a killer for Omni-Tank teams, and it makes her a little more one-dimensional than she once was. As far as her weapon and preference skill, you have Slaying, Omni, +5, you have true damage 20%, low attack res, guaranteed follow-up, and to units and allies within two spaces, and this cannot be discredited, but Resonant Blades and Shields is incredibly valuable to especially Omni-Tanks, but all units. I mean, it's free stats. Fell Protection, you get attack res +5, and to unit and allies within two spaces, you get damage reduction equals 30% if res is greater than foes res +5, and that is visible on these checks here. So make sure you stack as much visible res as you possibly can. Scowl if res is greater than or equal to foes res +5, and then attack res +4 to just the allies. So like I said, this unit is still really good. Keep in mind, save balls are back in force. So this is the very top of C tier, but there are still other options that you might want to have instead of Veyle, which is crazy because when this unit came out, I would not have thought that. The build, I mean, Crystalline Water, attack speed ruse 4, although you can do some different things there. Sabotage is one of the examples, and then Still Water to just stack as much res as you possibly can. That's a +1, and that's 63 res. So that is something. I've got her in the save ball configuration along with Ecthenir. I really love the bonus doubler support from Ecthenir, and it works really well with Veyle. So that is a good combo right there. When you're looking at best friends, I mean, save balls. I don't like her as much with Omni-Tanks for all the reasons we just said, but her enemy support is really good, and I still like this unit a lot. C tier was dominated by offensive mythics in both Light and Astra, and it's interesting to see those. I'm giving 4 points per each unit in this tier. We didn't have as many defense mythics, but you can kind of see how this is stacking up. C tier is the very usable units, but they need specific scenarios, and these are excellent. B tier, on the other hand, are heavy contributors in key scenarios on the right team, but they're still units that you seek after, that you want on your team specifically. We're moving out of the I accidentally got this unit and into units that I summoned for this unit for a very specific role.
I have to help.
Ratatoskr has quietly come screaming like a rabid squirrel back into the meta. And the thing that she does, if you think about giving her drawback and having her pull up a player phase unit and have the entire map taken over by trees. And so we have that terrain which takes over the ice terrain and stops warping, and then she skitters away. That is valuable all on its own, and it is something that is overlooked right now. This unit is very, very good. Let's look at exactly what the kit is. We have World Tree Tail with Slaying, Omni +5. You have debuffs, Special Acceleration, Null Follow-Up, Pierceable DR, and Panic AoE, which is always nice. And we have Divine Vein Green after unit acts and cantos. So that is 2 places where you get Divine Vein Green, which is very nice. You get 7 HP after combat to units within 2 spaces, Omni +4, Guard, and just as a review, Divine Vein Green gives out Guard and Warp Inhibitor, which is fantastic. So there's a lot of things going on. I told you I'm a fan of this unit. I do wish that Mending Heart wasn't in the C skill because Shadow Shift would be so good on this unit, but that is wishful thinking again. You've got this unit on, and we talked a little bit about player phase just then, but even if you're looking at a save ball, I mean, you can absolutely use this unit there, and warp inhibitors are just fantastic. The only thing I will say is they can be overwritten, but most of the time that's not an issue. The units that warp are usually the units that are the nukes, and so the ones that come after are these secondary folks, and they're much, much easier to handle and usually have less firepower and less terrain involved with them. Now, when you're looking at best allies, we talked about the near saves, but also the Omni tanks and the player phase things. This is universal support. This unit is good in a lot of different ways because terrain has gained so much value. The terrain wars are in full effect, and this unit will help you get there. It is interesting that is the most valuable thing about this unit, but we're here. Long live the squirrel.
Feel sorrow.
I feel like Embla is a lot like Mila in that she is going to come in and out of the meta as saves come in and out of the meta. And saves are back, and so is Embla. Embla is incredibly valuable in her role as a debuffer, but folks really overlook the fact that she can hit pretty dang hard, especially with the fact that she is turning off saviors, so she's going to be hitting the weaker units very hard. If we look at her kit, Enclosed Claw has Slaying, Omni +5, Null Guard, lots of debuffs. We have Defensive NFU, Guard. If transformed, we have +1 movement and 2 extra attack. Severance, Enclosing Claw is good, but Severance is really spectacular. At the start of turn, inflicts 2 3 rows and 3 columns, Severance, and Feud. Severance is fantastic against saviors. Feud is fantastic against Omni tanks. I cannot tell you how underrated Feud is. Feud is absolutely fantastic on for you. Whoever you're putting it on, it's fantastic for you. It is terrible if you're the one going up against it. It has absolutely demolished me so many times. And then at start of turn, you get null debuffs and dodge. The null debuffs is really underrated and fantastic on this unit. As far as the build highlights, I had to do this, right? Momentum 4 and Nimble Beast. This unit is just smashing you, right? There's a lot of other things, and you should probably run Beast skills in that B. There's a lot of good ones, but I thought the Momentum 4 was more fun. If you're teaming this unit with Note and the Melee Nuke Brothers, this unit will have a ton of fun and be just amazing at cleanup. I like this build. It's probably better that I don't have the things to build this, especially, and I didn't mention it there, but Attack Speed Fortune, this is one of the best users of it in the game. Units that she works best with, I mean, you just saw it. One of the things she does with Robin so well is Robin inhibiting player phase teams from coming in and trying to smack you. That is a big deal because Embla teams generally want to be high threat range, and they're usually lower on bulk. They usually don't have as many saviors, so you need as many ways to stop them from smacking you as absolutely possible. But this unit is fantastic for any nuke. Any nuke being able to either have feud on the enemy or severance and ignore saviors both of those are fantastic, and this unit is a lot of fun in Aether raids.
Weep for the dead.
I'm about to tell you something that is just going to blow your mind. Shield Fighter exists, and it's really good. So you have a unit like Fomortiis, who already was worth putting extra things into in order to utilize Nightmare. But now he has Shield Fighter, which is really good on him. This unit is fantastic right now, and the only reason I don't have him higher is I'm very scared that Shield Fighter is going to get countered any second now. And suddenly this unit is going to, I'm not going to say crash down, because really it's just move one tier down. But still, is this worth putting Shield Fighter on right now? We'll talk about it, I'll let you decide. So, Ravager, we have Slaying, Attack Defense -6, Guard. You have Damage Reduction on foes doubles, equals 80%. You have, on Transformation, Cooldown Reduction and Distant Counter. Then you have Nightmare, and Nightmare is really what you're after. You have Attack Defense -10, together that's Attack Defense -16, which is quite a bit. You have First Attack Damage Reduction, and if this unit is not killed, it ends the action of closest foes in 4 spaces of target after combat. And that is really what you're after. That is special and very annoying. They went way overboard with Leon. I think we can all agree on that. But with Fomortiis, it is interesting because it still feels like you have counterplay to it. And I like it on this unit. And so looking at the build, of course I have Shield Fighter, Pavis, and Twin and Save here. I've also got the Beast Seal on there. That is nice as well, unless you be a lot more adaptable if you need this unit to have distant counter. But the cooldown reduction as well is nice. This is obviously in a Hathran Ball. And that's the other thing. You have Shield Fighter, and Shield Fighter is already fantastic. But then you have Hathran support, which is also fantastic. It's what makes this unit this high in the tier list right now. It's what makes this unit B tier. B tier for this unit is incredibly high for a tank. Like, that is tough to get this high, and this unit has done it. If you can't tell, I am really impressed with this unit right now. Best friends are obviously Fjorm. I probably should have put Hathran up there, but isn't everyone's best friend Hathran? And then any of the high threat range teams, really having a mythic that can pull double duty by giving you speed and extra stats while also, protecting you from, enemy Felixes. That's a big deal. And the other thing is 762. This is very usable in Arena if you want to merge this unit up. Best roll, you can use this unit as a near save or a far save. Near save is the better of the two right now, but that is subject to change. I saw the Lucina and I see the way things are going, so probably stick with near save if I was you.
Good night, dear.
Loki is another unit that I go back and forth on a lot, and on the right teams, she's really, really incredible. I'm a little bit worried that the right teams, and I like her a lot in the high threat range teams. I'm seeing so much of our teams are kind of condensing into the save balls, and that's less on light. So that is a thing, but definitely like in Astra Anima, I'm seeing that a ton. But for now, I like where she's at in the meta, and she can do a lot of good, or if you're going against her, a lot of bad. So I guess it depends on your perspective there. But okay, Supreme Thok. We have Kanto, Slang, Wrathful Staff, Pulse Up Blades, Attack Res plus X. Guaranteed follow-up, and true damage equals 20% times res. By the way, X is 6 plus 20% times res. That's already a lot of stats. This unit hits really hard, like way harder than she has any right to. Divine Deceit, let's see, if foe has penalty, you get attack res plus 5. If res plus 5 is greater than foe's res, inflicts gravity in cardinal direction, which is really a pain in the butt to player phase teams. Also, if within 3 rows, 3 columns at start of either phase, inflicts ploy and exposure. And then if foe is within 3 rows and 3 columns and has greater than 3 bonuses, inflicts bonus cleanse. And that's the big thing. Like, there are so many folks that try to stack bonuses right now. And that has gone away more with near saves, but there are still definite times when you cross that threshold and you're not even aware. Omni tanks, this is huge for. Like, you want to stack as much as you possibly can on those units, and this unit tries to prevent you from doing that. A well-placed Loki is just a holy terror on your team. If we're looking at builds, honestly, I mean, she can go with exactly what she has base kit, so don't think you have to be too creative there. There are some things you can do. Crystal and Water is probably the best thing just because you stack res. I have Squad Ace BU on there. Really, as much res as you can possibly get is probably good. So Still Water might be better, but this gives you a little extra attack. So it depends on what you're seeing. Res of 62 is pretty good versus most of the units that you're going to want to out-res. As far as best friends, I mean, any of the nukes really is what you're looking at. And right here I have the current version of the Cav line, and of course with melee Cavs and Felix, possibly Sigurd there, but this unit does an excellent job following up as a ranged nuke and is an excellent debuffer right now, and I am surprised at how well this unit has done.
Need a nap.
For the most part, I tried not to look into the future because it is so hard to predict what Faye is going to do. This is kind of the exception. Mirabilis in the current meta should probably be lower. The thing is, she is such a good dancer that I am near positive that she's going to come back, and she has been so good in the past. I think this is a small dip, and as we get more into the dual save meta, like as we go more into the Hathran balls, I think she's going to be even more valuable and help versus hit and run teams. But we already have big help on with units like Felix and Sigurd, who get such huge threat range. Still, this is a really good unit, and I think she deserves this spot if you look at the entire timeline, even though right now, at this second, she's probably a bit lower than this. Looking at her weapon, Flower of Ease, attack defense -10, guaranteed follow-up, and after combat to foes within 3 columns centered on foe, you get counter disrupt, which is weird, right? It's just, Flower of Ease is just weird. If foe is within 3 rows, 3 columns, and has a penalty, they get attack defense res -4. It's a very funny weapon, and sometimes it catches people off guard. So I won't talk too bad about it, but it is weird how both this unit and Triandra got such player phase weapons. The difference is it's harder to bait this unit, and so that makes her a lot better. But Whimsical Dream Plus, you get another action, of course, and to Refreshed Ally, you get attack +6, Dull All, which is very good, and to closest foes within 2 spaces, you get attack -6. This is a very versatile unit that can be used a lot of ways because she is a melee flyer. She has just a lot of things you can do. I have gone with the Speed Res Discord build. I've tried to stack res on her, and I think that's really the way to go. And then again, she's in a Hathran ball. Like, she has follow-up for any of these other teams, as well as helping get in a position for, say these units attack, in Sigurd's case, and in Bernie's case, they canto back, Fjorm jumps over Mira with guidance 4, and then protects the entire team. This is a very common setup and works pretty well as long as you're able to kill things. And honestly, Bernie and Sigurd are able to kill a lot of things. As far as best friends, I mean, mean, we just talked about any sort of follow-up nuke, any nuke that this unit can follow into battle, she does very well with. She is excellent versus hit and run teams. I mean, best role, she's a refresher. Like refresher is so good in a lot of different areas though. And I really like this unit. I think she's going to continue to be very good.
Smash and bash!
Dagr is another one of my favorites, and I was so excited to see the bonkers refine this unit got. This is one of those units that I just continue to find things to use her with, and she is very versatile. Being an infantry melee unit, she has so many different things that she can get on her, and the Pathfinder support is fantastic as well for a lot of different modes. For Skin Faxi, speed +3, you get in combat panic, which is neat all in and of itself. Omni +5, inflicts Omni -4, has Omni Unity on this, and there are so many debuffs right now. You get true damage equals 10% of attack, and then you get first attack DR equals 40%, and Pathfinder to unit and support partner. Sun Twin Wing Plus, you get attack speed, defense -5, no follow-up, true damage of 20% of the speed, and 50% DR piercing. But honestly, you're probably swapping that out for Legoo's Friend 4. And if you look at the build, that is exactly what I've done here with Godlike Reflexes, Legoo's Friend 4, Breath of Life. This is a support for for your save balls. But I have a great kit for this unit in any sort of Gale Force teams. There's also a lot you can do in Summoner Duels. This is one of the very few units on this list that you can actually use there. And basically what you'd be swapping out on that C skill, you'd use Firm Kento Curb Stomp, and she's fantastic there. I'm just a huge fan of this unit. She is very, very versatile. If you're looking at her friends, you've got Omni Tanks, you've got Gale Force units, you've got Saviors. This unit just supports everyone, and she is my Swiss Army knife, and I have had an absolute blast using her. She comes highly recommended. This is a very valuable unit.
You offend me.
Note honestly is in a similar way, and the thing is, on defense, it's just really good to extend the range of your units. And you add on all the stuff we just said about Dagr. This unit is very versatile and has all of the infantry inheritables that you can put on them. I will say the Omni Unity has been something that has been better than the bonus doubler that Note has. I like the way that Dagr set up a little better than Note, but I have to say in the current meta, I think Note is a little more valuable at her specific role and more likely to be fielded. Because, again, extending range is just so valuable on defense at this moment. If you look at Hrim Faxi, you get speed +3, attack speed defense -4, bonus doubler 4.5, which is really nice. Pathfinder, you get insight to allies within 2 spaces, in combat sabotage, 7 flat DR on first attack, and cooldown reduction. And then you have Moon Twin Wing, which has phantom speed +7, a debuff of attack speed defense -5, you have true damage of 10%, 50% DR piercing, and then a pierceable 50%, well basically that's dodge, right? So the build here is very, very similar to what you just saw, only Firm Kento Curb Stomp, and that's because defense. I mean, that is defense builds and Summoner Duels builds are very similar, you'll find. And I mean, I have seen this unit successfully take on Felix, which is fantastic. And you do have to have her fairly highly invested for that, as you're seeing. But the fact that she can do that makes her incredibly valuable as a frontliner. The difference between her and Seiros, which we talked about as a similar role before, is that the support she has is so valuable. Extending range is so valuable and makes her a bigger piece of the meta. Now, best friends, anyone who needs more range. I know I have Sigurd up there, and it seems weird because does he really need more range? But sometimes he does. But best role is melee frontliner and movement enhancer. This unit got a decent refine, but because she's so good at what she does and so critical at what she does, it's she's just an incredibly valuable unit.
You can do better.
What I'm about to tell you is incredibly unpopular. Askr has lost a lot of value. I mean, we're still in B tier. This is still a really good unit. But the idea that this is the second best light mythic is gone by the wayside. The reason is, well, two things, really. It is so easy to get special cooldown now. There are so many different ways to get that. And the other thing is, a lot of Gale Force units don't need special cooldown. If you think about Gullveig, it is ridiculous that unit can get 4 attacks and doesn't need any sort of Askr support whatsoever. Felix, same way. Just doesn't care. Sigurd, same way. Those are the 3 most popular Gale Force units right now, and they don't need Askr. And that's a big deal. Like, that is the thing that he does. He does give some extra stats as well, but that is a huge shift that I never saw coming. So that is an interesting thing for this unit. We're still in B tier. This is still a very good unit, but mostly this is a consensus, like, top tier light mythic, and I'm here to tell you not so much. So let's look at the weapon though. We have Slaying, Omni +5, guaranteed follow-up, true damage equals 20% of defense, flat DR equals 20% of defense, and then you get Infantry Beast Transform, most notably in their Tempo, which is very good. And then Open Domain, you guys have seen the cooldown reduction, which is fantastic. Resonant Blades, Resonant Shields, and yeah. This unit is really good. He's just not great right now. If you look at my favorite build is, again, the Attack Speed Wild Wings of Mercy 4 build. You'll notice though that the team I have him on, again, they just don't need the cooldown. And this is one of the most popular Gale Force teams we have right now. I want you to think about who are you running on Gale Force that needs this extra cooldown. Most of that answer is going to be the supports around him. Like if I had Dagr on this team, then she would definitely need that. If I had the Askr trio on this team, then they would definitely need that cooldown support. But we have so many actions right now that it's not as critical to have your Gale Force supports also kill things, which is a nutty place to be in the meta, but that's where we are. Now, again, this unit is still very valuable, and I highly recommend this unit. If you don't have him, you should definitely try him out. He's fantastic. So if you look at best friends, I mean, infantry units that need cooldown, but also Omni tanks, and in particular when you look at any Omni tanks that need the extra speed. Getting the extra speed in Resonant Blades is a huge deal. The extra defense in res is good too, but I mean, we are right back in that speed meta, and it is something that you've got to pay attention to, and it is really valuable to get extra stuff from this unit. The other thing though is for AoE builds, this unit is still very valuable. The problem is right now AoEs just aren't what they used to be. But again, I sound like I'm really down on Askr. Make sure you look at where he is in the tier list. Like, this is still really high. I am not as high as I once was. I used to have him right up there with Peony, and he has since fallen. So this is a fantastic unit, but is on the fall right now. But we will be getting a refine soon-ish. So keep that in mind. And I still think this unit is very good if you have him.
Revealing light!
Seithir is really interesting, and I have a merged up Seithir, and I love this unit, but the role she plays right now is very different than it used to be. With Omni tanks is where she is most valuable on enemy phase, and that's because being able to reduce the number of units that are coming in and just smacking you is a very big deal. Save balls are a little different. Most of the time, I want the enemy to be coming in, and as many of those to come in as possible so that I can take out as many as I can. Usually the issue is I'm not hitting them hard enough, and I want them in close enough to where my cleanup units can take them out. She's just not as valuable in that case. So, since saviors are on the rise and Omni tanks are falling, that means Seithir is also falling into B tier here. Keep in mind though, this is probably the best support that's not a dancer for your Gale Force team that you can possibly have. Being able to just freeze out a unit is fantastic, and it is something that this unit does very, very well. If we're looking at the weapon itself, we have Seithir, we have Slaying, Omni +5, you have true damage, and that counts in AoE, and there's a lot of really fun things you can do with that AoE damage. We have Guaranteed Follow-Up, and then to unit and allies within 2, you have Follow-Up Denial, which is actually really good. Even though you have a lot of offensive no follow-up late game, that can be incredibly valuable. Then you get Future Focus, which ends action of closest foes in cardinal direction if condition met. We've seen this a ton. That is an incredibly powerful effect. If we're looking at the build, of course I have to show the Gale Force build here. Wings of Mercy for Flared Mirror, and that is not for the burn damage, but to try to burn away any ice if you need to. It is really, really nice to have there. And then Ruptured Sky, really whatever special you have there. But I mean, you can see kind of how this works. You have Felix and Sigurd go in and try to clean up, and then Seithir comes in and freezes whatever unit you have left over, which, keep in mind, as powerful as Felix and Sigurd are, there are units that they have trouble taking care of turn 1. Teams are bulkier and bulkier. And I mean, if you look specifically at Hathrin, that unit is a terror to all player phase teams. This unit, regardless of what I just said, is still great for just support for any team. She is less value for saviors, but that doesn't mean she isn't valuable. And specifically late turn, she can come in very, very handy. She hits hard enough to where she can take out a lot of things as well. I'm a huge fan of this unit, so don't think that I am down on this unit. Just know that she is not as top tier as she used to be. B tier, though, is still very, very good.
My final judgment.
I almost put Ashura 1 tier higher, no joke. This unit does a lot and was kind of neglected in her refine. We kind of glossed over her because so much was going on. And I mean, let's face it, right now, so much just is constantly going on. Order Sentence, we have a lot of stats, and those have to do with the bonuses of the units around you, which is very powerful. We have Guard, Omni +9, 7 HP post-combat, first attack damage reduction equals 30%. You get a weird flat damage reduction thing, which based off of the, again, buffs around you, and makes her bulkier than you might expect. And then we have Order's Restraint. And the reason I kind of glossed over that, like that, all that makes her a really great cleanup unit. But this is a laundry list of things. To units and allies within 3 spaces, attack res +6, no panic, no follow-up, hexblade to allies, DR piercing, now that is just to her, but still, it's really good, and then an Omni +4. Like, that is some excellent stuff right there. That is a lot of great support. So you have this unit that is both a great cleanup unit and good support specifically for Omni tanks, but also a lot of this stuff can be used by saviors. This is great stuff. As far as the build, I've gone full support here, but I mean, if you wanted to, you could do a lot of fun things and make this unit different. I really like the speed res Discord right now. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it goes well with her because of her high res. You're probably wanting to stack just a little more than 56, but most nukes have lower than that, and that's really who you're targeting there. But you can see Crystalline Water, Still Water, just I'm stacking as much res as I possibly can, and I'm putting this unit on a team with an Omni tank. And I mean, you combine her with Ekthanir and his bonus doubler, as well as with Micaiah, and I mean, this unit just does a lot of damage and a lot of support, all combined into one, and she has great special animations, so I mean, there's that. So, as far as best friends, really any enemy phase team she is fantastic with. She does have good Gale Force support. That is something that you can do with her because of all the additional effects, but mostly enemy phase is what you're really going to be focusing on. I was really happy to see how good this unit's refine was. So here we have B tier, and this one was kind of dominated by Dark Mythics and Astra Mythics. And I mean, you can see where those lay out. There are some really good things in here, though. Any units that you have in this tier, you're really happy to have them on your team. Moving into A tier, though, these units fit on most teams or are dominant in one area, and I'm really excited to get into these. These are where things really start changing, and let's get into it.
Muscle is power.
I've had to think a lot about Ecthenir. This was a unit that I wasn't very high on coming out, and I have completely changed my mind because of all of the little things that this unit does that we couldn't quite see when he was released. I am a huge fan of Dear Boy right now, though I wish I had a copy and I just don't, but I would love to have this unit merged up. If you look at Quieting Antler, you have Slaying, Canto 2, Attack Defense minus 17. True damage equals highest buffs on unit and allies in 3 spaces. Flat DR equals 50% of the same thing. Cav Beast bonuses, and to unit and allies within 2 spaces, you get attack defense plus 6 and bonus doubler plus 3. Divine Strength is remove the transformation condition, which is fantastic for this unit. You get penalty cleansing on this unit, and that's dual phase. You get attack defense minus 5. That is a ton of daunts right there. You get a guaranteed follow-up. You get 7 HP post-combat healing, and wait, you get more daunts. So this unit is crazy, and I have seen this unit just absolutely destroy things. This is another one that I've actually seen in Summoner Duels, which is wild. That's how hard this unit can hit. Let's get into the build here. And I mean, really, I didn't do anything with this build. I don't know why I had that build up there. You're using exactly what this unit has because they came just completely kitted out. I love it when they do this, and I wish they did this more. This is exactly what this unit needs. Where I've got this unit highlighted is in a save ball because of the ability for him to go clean things up. I've been talking to a lot of folks on this unit, and hit and run teams love this unit. Gale Force teams, the bonus doubler on them is very nice. He's just very versatile right now in the current meta. You can see the units he works best with, and it's just everybody. This is great as a cleanup unit, melee support. This is a fantastic unit, and I am so impressed with the design here. Dear Boy, I am sorry I slept on you, and I hope this makes it right, giving you your due and placing you this high.
We must battle.
That's right. We have Hathor this high. Listen, she's that good. She really is. I have seen her used in so many different ways, and I think it's time we gave this unit her due. This unit is absolutely fantastic, especially in the current meta. If we look at her weapon, we have Slaying, Omni plus 5, true damage equals 15% of attack, which is really nice. Damage reduction equals 30% from first attack, and if Rally Assist used, inflicts in cardinal direction, Omni minus 4, and Guard. So it's basically kind of a ruse skill there. Harrowing Dream grants another action to unit, which is fantastic. And being able to go someplace, perform your rally and then move somewhere else is really great. But here's where things really amp up. For each of your turns, you get extra stats. Turn 2, you get Canto, which is incredibly valuable. Turn 3, you get Treachery, which is fantastic. And turn 4, you get Dual Strike. I know. Okay, here's the thing. Because we talked about this when she first came out, and that's a lot of turns to wait. But there are so many teams, especially with Hathor, that are giving up on threat range and are kind of collapsing in on themselves, especially with Shield Fighter. And the amount of extra things this unit can give to your Armor Breaker or whatever Gale Force unit you have is incredible. And it absolutely can take out Shield Fighter with the right lead, especially with Dual Strike and Treachery combined. Keep in mind, at turn 4, you're getting +8 to all stats, Treachery on top of that, and quad hits. That is something that is very, very powerful and can take teams that were normally impossible to take down and change that. The other thing that this does, though, is even on your tanking teams, giving them extra oomph is an incredibly powerful thing. I mean, you've heard me say it, but one of the hardest things right now is to take out units in one hit. This unit helps you do that. So we talked about player phase, enemy phase. She amps up your damage. As a cleanup unit, she can also help you a ton with all of these effects. Normally cleanup stuff happens late in turns. She can do that. This unit is fantastic. The build I have highlighted is just your basic Ruse 4 Breath of Life build. But understand you can do a lot of fun things with her because she's an infantry unit and she has a ton of options that you can put on her. So keep that in mind. The team I've got her on is Tamara, and having Micaiah to undo any of the debuffs or penalties is huge. Having Hathor to come in and give her extra damage is even bigger. Like that is a big deal, and Omni tanks absolutely love this unit. This unit is fantastic, and if you haven't had a chance to use her, you need to try her out. I mean, units that love her, everybody. This is another one of those units that is just universally good right now.
Great Mjolnir.
Thor's Refine is just amazing. And really, it's her remix that is amazing. Her Refine is just good, but World Breaker Plus is absolutely fantastic. I am so amazed with how many places this unit can be used now. This is an incredibly versatile unit at this point, and this tier, I mean, it's all about versatility. I want to be able to use these units in every single type of team that I have, because a lot of these units are going to be investing in. You want your investment to pay off and to be usable for a lot of different things. So, War God Mjolnir. We have Slaying, we have Armor Effective, we have Attack plus 12 and Inflicts Attack minus 12, Guaranteed Follow-Up, Dull Bonuses, 15% true damage. That's unfortunately not on AoEs. I would have really liked that, but that's not the case. Canto 2, which is incredibly valuable on all the different teams she wants to be in. 15% attack, flat damage reduction, damage reflection, which is really fun, and then DR piercing on special hit. That's the one thing. I really wish it just would have been 50% DR piercing, and this unit would be even higher than she is now. But it's just on special, which really hurts a lot of her Gale Force potential. It's really the only thing, though, and World Breaker Plus makes that just go away in your mind. So on effects, we have Omni Guidance 4, so even your calves can go crazy. Plus 5 attack defense res. You have Special Acceleration. You have Special Jump 2, which is a lot. And then grants to allies within 3 spaces, plus 4 attack defense res, Special Acceleration, and Special Jump 1. That is huge, giving Special Jump to even Gale Force units. Having Special Acceleration as well is just phenomenal. I am really happy with this unit's Refine. Again, that Special Jump can absolutely be used on any enemy phase unit. Just loves that. That is fantastic. This is a great unit. The build that I'm looking at right now is that Attack Defense Excel, Aerial Maneuvers, and then just Bonfire. Although the special is kind of up in the air. Ruptured Sky is another one that could be really fun, though, if you are trying to take out any kind of dragons or beasts, which there are a lot of in the meta. But right now I have her set up with a Tamara team, and again, that Special Jump is critical for Tamara. She has to have Sandstorm, and when she does, she is a different unit. The ability to hand that out within 3 spaces is so big for her and for Ike. That is, I can't tell you enough how much that changes how Tamara plays, and in my mind actually takes her up a notch as far as value goes. But I mean, you've seen that team with Tamara before. Thor just really sets it off. The aerial maneuvers gives her more mobility, but there are a lot of different things you can do with that. Obviously, the Wings of Mercy build could help her on Gale Force. This is a fantastic unit in a lot of different modes. As far as units that she works well with, I've got the Omni tanks up there because I think it is just so critical to how they work. But also, I've got Reginn up there. I know that looks funny, but any of your mythics that need to proc Gale Force, this unit helps them so much. And I am really happy with this unit. I am so happy to put her in A tier, and I am excited to get to use her.
For the good of all.
Lumera helps in two very specific ways right now. And the first is terrain wars, and particularly in regards to the Sigurd ring being able to draw back and then canto up to a specific spot and just wipe the terrain clear is huge for player phase teams. On the flip side, being able to put down that terrain and help reduce AoEs and not having it, this isn't taken away by Nurgle. That is a big deal. Those are two very specific cases that make this unit incredibly powerful, especially in a mythic. This is in a mythic that can be on your team every time and you don't have to sacrifice a spot. It's basically free. This is incredibly nice. If we look at the weapon, Monarch Stone has Sling, Omni -X, and X equals 25%. Foes attack -4, max of 14. 14 stats is nice. True damage equals 20%. Burst attack DR equals 40%, and guard. I do wish Monarch Stone was a little more of a standout, and I think they made it a bit weak, and I'm not the hugest fan, but Dragon Monarch kind of makes up for it with Divine Vein Stone being in a 5x5 area, and then of course this giving 30% DR. And then to units and allies within 5x5, you get an Omni +4 and a Null Guard, which is very good. We talked about how Guard had lost so much value, and this is one of the units that makes that a reason. I mean, that's Guard. Null Guard is just everywhere. Tempo is a very popular skill to have right now. This kind of drives home the point, though. I've given you two very valuable supportive things that this unit does. This unit does not have a lot of killing power, and I really wish she did, but that is just not the case. Build highlights. We just talked about exactly what she does, but I've got her up here with Felix because that is the case, right? You drag a unit that's not Felix up and around and throw stuff down, and then Felix comes in and just smashes things. My favorite thing is to actually have him paired with Sigurd. That's, I mean, everyone's favorite thing, right? But in the player phase, being able to clear things away and then having both those units come in and smack things is incredibly valuable. You then have Wings of Mercy 4, and attack speed XL helps her with her damage a bit, and Dragon's Roar, of course, is very good. I will say Dragon's Roar, I've been using that a bit, and I'd probably replace that with an offensive special, just again to help her out with her damage. 59 to attack, I know we've seen a ton of units with lower, like Naga, but again, the thing that I want this unit to be able to do better is clean up, and she struggles a bit in that area. The thing is, though, everyone wants this unit on their team. Absolutely everyone. Divine Vein Stone is incredibly powerful. Even if you're like Nagi and you already have AoE reduction, Divine Vein Stone is incredibly powerful. If you're a unit like Ike who doesn't have that, that's absolutely critical. This unit is a year old though, and it's so interesting to see how she has actually risen. When she first came out, I was a fan, but that has just skyrocketed seeing how she's performing lately. I will note this is the highest scoring mythic we have right now, and at 766 merged up, you can absolutely use this unit in arena, and that Divine Vein Stone will be incredibly valuable to any of your Marnies or anyone else who is out there right now. But this unit just supports everyone.
Why must we fight?
So we talk a lot in terms of value up, value down, and that's, you have a unit like Lumera, who we definitely have on the rise. Freyja is the opposite way, and we still obviously very good. This is top of tier A, but he is definitely on the decline, and we have a lot of interesting skills for him, but there are so many things you want to fit on your defense, and Hathran exists, and it's very hard to have two melee units like that on your defense. So I like this unit a lot, but understand that there is definitely a down arrow on an incredibly good unit, but still a down arrow. Let's take a look at just the kit in general. Dreamhorn has Slaying, a guaranteed follow-up, 30% DR, and that does include AoEs. You get Cav Beast Transform. You have Dream Deliverer then that has Resonant Shields, Defense Res +4, a Visible Defense Res +6, Guard, and of course, neutralizes penalty on unit and allies within 2 spaces, and that is really what's so valuable about this unit. What absolutely destroyed Elimine, but there are so many things that you want to be able to do as, well, enemy or player phase. Being able to debuff the enemy is so powerful, and this unit just takes that away. Absolutely wipes that away. This is easily one of the most overtuned units they've ever given us, and it is spectacular that even after a year he is still this high as a defense mythic. This unit will be good for a long time, and I know I just talked about the arrow going down, but that does not mean this unit is bad or is disappearing. We're just going to see him less, which less is he used to be on every single team, and now he's on about half the teams. As far as the build, I had to throw this up here. This is Momentum 4 and Fierce Beast. This hits really hard, and this unit already has a lot of oomph to him. If you're doing more practical things, Reopen is really the B skill you want to look at. Much better, but Momentum is a lot more fun. And of course, the team is that Hathran Ball with this unit, Hathran, 2 saves, and whatever nukes you have laying around, probably including Felix. As far as units that Freyja works best with, all of them. I mean, it's like a dancer. I mean, everyone wants to have their penalties just absolutely cleansed. Why wouldn't you want that? I mean, yeah, that's really it. He's an Omni support. This unit is absolutely fantastic. The reason that we have seen him fall is really because of all these other units that are just absolutely incredible. The high threat range teams don't need him as much, which is really interesting. Why would you not need penalty cleansing? But the thing is, they need other things more, and we'll talk about what they need more in here in just a bit. Let's go ahead and close A tier down, and I've given 16 points per unit in this tier, and Astra Season just ran away with it. And all of these are newer units or a brand new refine, and that is very notable right there. Astra has gotten a lot of help recently, and so that is good and bad. The bad to that is a lot of the help that you need is in the form of a new unit that you have to summon. And one of the big complaints recently is how pay-to-win things have been. This is a lot of what contributes to that. But that being said, Thor has been around for a while, and that kind of refine is very good for the game. We love that, and I love that they have provided that to us in a refined form. Having Deer Boy and Hathor merged up, though, is very expensive. As far as Freyja, again, the thing about Defense Mythics is you need a one-off, and he's fantastic for that, does a great job. Lumera is interesting because she has risen in value so high. But it's time to move past all of that, and we're getting into S tier, the meta-defining units. What I'm really saying with meta-defining is I want these units on every single team, regardless, and for the foreseeable future. Like, these are the units that I want on every single team. That is what I've defined as S tier for this tier list. Let's jump into it.
Such indecency.
You knew she was coming. I mean, the thing with Plumeria is she's not that great of a dancer. Like, flat out. But she is a mythic dancer, so she's free. Like, this is a way to... The thing about dancers, the thing that makes dancers so powerful is they take your incredibly invested units and they let you use them again. And so this is the definition of free to play. Like, this is a unit that doesn't take much investment that lets you double up on your investment in another unit. That's fantastic. And because of that, of course she's S tier. Like, this is where you want her to be. This is a fantastic thing that IS has done, and we need to give them credit for that they haven't given us more dancers. They've just let us build off of the ones that we've had. Let's go over this unit's kit. Flower of Plenty is okay. You get all the stuff that's very player phase heavy, and then you get 2 allies within 5 rows and 3 columns, attack res +4. That's really the only thing you're interested in. You really don't want this unit to hit incredibly hard. You would have liked that capital to be spent elsewhere, but Sweet Dreams is a fairly nice dance. You get grants another action. You get an Omni +5 to unit that's visible, and visible buffs are harder to come by now than they used to be just because there's so many things that you need to be doing. You get a guaranteed follow-up on offense. You get adaptive damage, which is okay in today's meta. I do expect that to come back eventually. Right now, it's just okay there. And then to nearest foes within 5 spaces, you get an Omni -5. So, given the season she's in, the -5 really doesn't matter too much because Freyja is still on a lot of defenses. But the rest of this is fairly decent. The neat thing is she's a flyer, and they've given flyers so many different things. I wanted to look at a little different build here and understand that, just like we said, you can take base kit Plumeria and be just fine. Or you can go Arcane Blutgang, Ruptured Sky, Crystalline Water, Sabotage Attack Defense, Speed Defense Crux, Still Water, and Soaring Echo. And suddenly you have a lot of support coming your way. We have talked about how good the Crux skills are right now, and having Soaring Echo as an attuned skill is incredibly powerful on this unit. I'm a little sad that you lose out on Sweet Dreams, but again, this is something that you could look at if you want to hyper invest in Plumeria. Is it necessary? No. Is it fun? Absolutely. Right now, I've got her on the Tamara team with Gatekeeper. And the reason is, of course, Soaring Echo isn't as good with armors because armors can't use it. With an armored build, you could simply have Thor on the team and they could take care of that for you. But understand that this is a fun thing to do, not a necessary thing. If you're looking at folks that like this unit, again, everyone. I mean, everyone needs a dance. What I will say, for years now, I have talked about how Mythic dancers are so good in Arena, and I have recently had to change course on that. 754 is just not enough. If you're looking to build up a dancer, you really need to go a different direction. I still recommend a dancer in Arena, just the Mythic dancers, they don't quite cut it.
Don't you dare!
And then we have Peony, the darling of Aether Rays. And I mean, the big difference, there's a definite jump between Plumeria and Peony. I think in their roles, and in that question, will you field them? I think they are in the same tier in that case. Are you going to field both of these units an equal amount of times? Absolutely. Are you going to be happier that you fielded Peony? Yes, because this unit has a much better kit. Flower of Joy, you get res +3, Omni +8, attack speed +4 to allies in cardinal directions, which is very good. You get a guaranteed follow-up and 7 HP to unit and allies in cardinal direction after this unit attacks. We don't care, right? Gentle Dream Plus, though, grants another action. You get grants to target and allies in cardinal direction. You get Omni +4 orders and null debuffs. And that's the really neat thing about this, is that you're having that dance on one unit, and the units in the cardinal directions get all of those effects. And particularly null debuffs is incredibly powerful. That is very, very nice unless you're running Unity, and that's unfortunate, but that I have had to actually take Gentle Dreams Plus down to just Gentle Dream because of that. I was running at the time Legendary Robin. So it does happen, but most of the time you really love null debuffs and you absolutely love that Orders effect. I really love to put Sigurd Ring on this unit, but here I've showcased Speed Res Far Trace because you might want that on another unit because, I mean, Light Season is so heavily player phase based. Firestorm Boost 3, just getting extra bulk on this unit is nice. And of course, Guidance 4, this is really trying to help your save ball. There are so many things you can do with Peony. I like her base kit, so I wanted to really showcase that, whereas Plumeria, I think, possibly needs some help. So there's that. I think this unit just helps everywhere, though. And I mean, you always want this unit on your team. Are you running a hit and run team? You need Peony. Are you running a Gale Force team? Peony. Are you running a save ball? I have seen save balls start to ditch the Mythic Dancers, and that is an interesting thing to think about. The issue there is you have to have other Mythics that are invested enough to replace that unit. I just had to mention that on the side. 99% of the time, though, you're fielding Peony. Just every single roll, every place you want to field this unit. I talked about it, but they have lost a little bit of value because you just can't use them in Arena anymore. But these are still two of the most valuable units in the game and two of the best investments in the game. They just stay good. And guys, this unit came out in 2019. This is a 5-year-old unit who is in S tier. This is what I'm talking about with Mythics. They're all usable, but particularly offensive Mythics are just good for so long. So if you haven't merged her up, this would be number 1 on my list.
Am I so useless?
I never imagined that I would have units that I placed over Peony and Plumeria in a tier list based on will you field them? And not only do I have a unit ahead of them, I have a defense mythic ahead of them, which probably speaks to how overtuned this unit really is. So, I mean, we should get that out of the way. Absolutely overtuned unit. But, folks, Hathran is amazing everywhere. I have seen this unit in Chaos Raids in offense, in both seasons on defense, and with good reason. I am scared to death when I see this unit in Arena. She is a terror there, and she's a mainstay in Summoner duels, which that is hard to do. This unit is absolutely incredible, and she hits like a wet noodle. I mean, that is how powerful her support is. I want you to think about that. That is absolutely crazy. But if you look at what this unit has here, we have Nectar Horn, Slaying, Attack Defense minus 17, Flat DR equals 20% of the res, Lull Attack Defense, Infantry Beast bonus, Special Acceleration, and then 3 rows and 3 columns on foes with res less than units res minus 5. You have Attack Defense minus 7, Discord, Neutralizes Miracle, and Deep Wounds. That is just that. Just that is a ton. That is amazing right there. If we were to stop right there, this would be a top tier unit. Divine Nectar. Neutralizes Deep Wounds. You get Breath of Life, 10 flat DR. And keep in mind, Divine Nectar gets put out to units within 2 spaces of this unit. That is incredible support. And then you get another action granted to you if you have Divine Vein Nectar and you have a rally or an assist used. This unit is a faux dancer, basically. And that is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Then you get Attack Defense minus 5. We're still going. And Guard. Every one of these effects, none of these are throwaways. These are incredible. Every single one of them. This is in my opinion, the most busted unit in the game right now. Thank God she doesn't hit hard. What would we do if this unit also was a powerful nuke? I don't even know. But this is nutty. Absolutely nutty. You want this unit on every team. As far as where you place her, take your pick. But the biggest thing, Hathran balls. Like, you literally have a bunch of units and you cram them up in the corner and, fun things happen, right? Unless you're on offense. And then annoying things happen. This unit is interesting. We talk a lot about how bad Felix is right now. Felix is more of a symptom than a problem. And the thing that was really the problem was, of course, the Celica ring and this unit, which gives him a ton of support by keeping him alive during whatever player phase shenanigans are happening. It makes Anima Season incredibly powerful right now, and I have been very impressed with this unit and also terrified. If you're looking at who likes to be friends with this unit, just take your pick. This unit, I know I've joked about everyone wanting to be friends with this unit, but literally, anything enemy phase loves this unit. Absolutely. 762, we talked about that does mean you can use this unit in arena and just gives one more terrifying piece to where this unit can rain terror. But yeah, this unit is your best mythic in the game right now, and a must summon if you have the orbs to do so. This is a unit that you absolutely want on your teams. Behold, your mythic tier list. I've been recording for 3.5 hours. Summoners, this was a gigantic undertaking, and we're not done yet. We've still got other things to talk about. But take a look at this. We talked about this, but all of these units are usable. Probably E tier is hard, but I have regularly seen from D tier up, I have seen these units contribute in significant ways. So I just want you to keep that in mind. Mythics are excellent investments. That is just the way they go. But we need to look at the best season, right? Is there really any question here? This pops up. This is interesting to me because, if you just look at this, Astra is far and away, has the most quality units. And we talked about that, but a lot of that has to do with A tier and all of those units that came in and are so good right now. But the interesting thing is how much better Anima Season is than Dark Season. And this plays out, right? You can feel it. Whenever Light Season comes on, you're like, whew, this is so much easier. Anima Season comes on, you're just dreading it. Astra is tough sledding right now, and they've tried to compensate by having better and better Astra Mythics. We've seen them go back and forth with this now and again, and they are definitely doing it right now. Astra Mythics are far and away better than Light Mythics, which, if you think about this, absolutely plays out. I want to talk about one more thing, and this is if you're a whale. The way you pick mythics is you pick the very first ones on this list and you go and merge those up. If you are free to play, though, there's always the question of who should I be targeting. These are my recommendations based on mainly going off of remixes because those are sparkable without having Fey Pass. That's a big deal. And then picking one new unit as a target. I want you to remember, though, that when you're looking at this, you only need one copy of the Defense Mythics. In Dark Season, you've seen how high those go. I would probably just not bother in Dark Season right now. But if you're looking for the two best, I think Note is going to have staying power, definitely, and I like where Loki is right now. But I think we're about to have a new Dark Mythic, so keep that in mind. For Anima Season, Hathran. Get Hathran. Mira is up there, and I think she's good to have a one-off of, but just get Hathran. Very much a priority. As far as Light Season go, we talked about this. Dagr just continues to come up as a unit that is useful to me, and I think she is going to be valuable for a long time. Peony is definitely the priority. Get her first, then I would look at Dagr, then I would look at Lumera right now. Lumera is fantastic, but I always try to have a newer unit on the horizon that I'm merging up, and I think Lumera is a good one to have in that case. If we're looking at Astra, Thor has had such a good refine, and Plumeria is out there. As far as the two remixes, Plumeria first, but then I would look at Thor. As far as the new one to be looking at, I think Hathor is really good and will be good for a long time because she has such interesting support and is good across a multitude of different teams. I like that unit a ton. Those are my recommendations. Super chats are always appreciated by you guys. I'm going to leave a link up to my latest tier list. If you'd like more of that, I have that right here for you. Members, you are absolutely incredible. Thank you for all you do. Take care and schedule an appointment with your Veyle just real soon.